We're talking about ways to navigate emotional stress, which is, I think, what most people think of when they think of stress. But I have a scientist background, and when people are modeling stress, they're not only modeling emotional stress. Like we we model physiologic stress, cortisol responses, adrenergic responses, fight or flight. That's usually what we're modeling. And it's actually hard in our everyday vernacular, like how we talk, we don't really differentiate those really well. A lot of times we're talking about emotional stress, but I'll say from the medical standpoint, a lot of times when we say stress, we often mean physiologic stress. Your body is undergoing some sort of damage, and cortisol is a response to increased blood pressure and things like that, like to make sure you don't go into shock. So the term stress is actually vaguely used across different contexts. And I think sometimes when we hear about data from the laboratory or some other study that says stress is associated with this, we assume that means emotional stress. And that is not how it's always used. So I think that also feeds into some of the misconceptions about how stress influences even the immune system and things like that. Because a lot of our models are based on physiologic stress, which has really high cortisol levels and things like that because you're trying to survive. And that may not always be the case with emotional stress. So it's hard to always tease those apart. But that's why in this realm and other realms where we're talking about what does or doesn't cause cancer, what does or doesn't influence treatments, we have to be really careful about the conclusions we make. Because it's really easy to look at something from a piece of data in the lab and then spread this out through making incorrect assumptions. And people can quote studies and they can quote doctors and it sounds really official. But the reality is a lot of times the conclusions are wrong. You can't make those conclusions. And part of me thinks that's where this assumption came in the first place, that stress causes cancer, that stress worsens cancer. We don't have any real data to suggest that that's true, but I can see where someone got there. I think it's from misinterpreting studies in the laboratory and things like that, completely out of context.
We hope you liked this video. To support cancer research and get clear, expert answers about cancer, follow us and visit crackingcancer.org to join the Cracking Cancer community.